floor in the White House, and we're going to pass good conservative legislation that pushes power where it belongs to the appropriate level of government. Most things are not federal issues. We learned that in the military. You don't take a squad leader level problem to a brigade commander. All right? You hear about it if you do that. Am I right, military guy? Other military guy? Hoorah, we don't say that. All right? So yeah, you handle the right problem at the right level. It's smaller government all around. And we vote no in Congress to get there as long as Biden is president.
I once had a boss, and his name was Tommy. I'll never forget, Tommy never provided coffee at work. It drove me completely and totally crazy. It was an internship, summer internship. I finished up my internship and asked Tommy, I'm like, why don't you just give people coffee? They're more productive, they're going to focus more at work. And his response was, well, once you give it to them, you can never take it away. That's exactly the federal government. If you go back to our founding, the United States was a collection of states, no federal government. Eventually they concluded very limited federal government to intervene in national disaster or provide national security. That was something that would make sense. That was it. That was the reservation clause of the United States Constitution. All rights, all duties not expressly delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states. That's it. Over time, the federal government has gotten unbelievably bloated. And it's gotten unbelievably bloated because of weak-kneed politicians. Lobbyists come in and they say, listen, we'll name a road after you at your local district if you pass this. We'll take you to a really fancy trip. We'll ensure that you meet your disclosure requirements in order to get really good committee assignments. And over time, the government has grown and grown and grown. And the reality for voters, and I learned this early on, Benjamin Franklin's got a great quote, which is, well done is better than well said. Actions speak louder than words. Whenever you're evaluating anyone from a job interview to a congressional vote, you need to look at what they've done. Have they stood up and fought against the grain? Have they done what's difficult and take the path of least resistance time and time again? Because those are the people that are going to fight for you whenever the going gets tough and not ensure the federal government continues to grow.
My life, over 50 years in the United States, I watched our federal government get bigger and bigger and bigger. They continuously get bigger and bigger. Especially this federal government, they got involved more domestically, which they completely forgot. We got a 50 individual sovereign state. Let domestic handle the state government. The federal government only handle outside of international or foreign affairs or the national security. So, yes, we need a smaller federal government, but they need to definitely identify what their job is. This socialist, progressive, liberal, Democrat, they just don't have no clue or knowledge about international. So what they do, they only focus on the domestic. They get involved, interfering with you and I. But yet, internationally, they just swaddle the other countries, foreign government, foreign national, they still American blind, which American, we just don't even realize the other countries stealing us. Look at China. They make all their money from us. Now they are threatening us. They try and buy the oil to the Chinese money to the Saudi, and our government don't do anything about it. So the federal government forgot about what their job, but yet
heard so many great questions. Would you mind repeating the question so that I answer what you're asking?
Do you believe in a smaller federal government with states' rights as per the U.S. Constitution? How do you shrink the Goliath-sized government we now have?
Absolutely, and I said this a little bit earlier. I believe it's time to take the power out of Washington, and I believe it is time to return the power to the states. This is a right that the people have. They need to demand that. It's not going to be as hard as it might seem. We can do to the federal government what the last administration, what Trump did to regulations. Remember, he said for every new regulation, they would retire 2, but they wound up retiring 6 or 7. I think when it comes to retirement, if you look at the attrition age of the people who were there, most people who work for the federal government are either at retirement age or close to retirement age. We need, besides deciding what agencies don't need to be there, for example, ATF, we don't need, I don't think we have bootlegging going on anymore. I think it's time to close that down. If we go to a fair tax, what we're doing is we are shrinking the size of the IRS. But if we take our employees and as they retire, we say, oh, these 10 people retired from this department. And we say, is this department necessary? If it's not, we sunset that department. That's an easy thing to do. But if it is, we don't hire 10 people back. This is where precise budgeting needs to come in. We need to hone down on those things. We need to allow ourselves to return to the Treasury. Right now, there's kind of a shell game that goes on in Washington. If one congressman doesn't spend all of his allotted budget and he turns it back in, it goes to somebody else who overspent. And that's not right. If you overspend, it should come out of your own pocket. It shouldn't come out of my pocket or your pocket. I think that's what I do. It's not quite as difficult as it seems.
Thank you, Susan. Mallory?
Yes, I'm for small government, and the way I think you do that is you cut off the blood flow. You put a tourniquet on it and cut off the money. That's how you stop things from growing. America has had 2 things going for her for a long time. And truly what embodies the greatness of America are her God and her people. And the people are always going to be the answer. Whatever the question is, whatever the problem is, the people are going to be the answer. I want to ask y'all to raise your hands to make this point. How many of you, like me, 3 years ago, would never have been in an all-candidate forum for the congressional leader in your district? Who would never have been there? Okay, that's almost all of us, excluding Brian, Ron, and everyone's teams. That's everyone in the whole room. And what we are witnessing is an absolute redemption. There is a reckoning coming. And the federal government is getting ready to get schooled so hard, because what has happened is the people are awake. Those of us that were otherwise doing something else, we are fully engaged. Someone mentioned school boards. Never before have we seen it more clearly than what's happened at school boards. You hear the roar of the parents. And I'm telling you, this is happening all over the country. It is not just happening right here with me in Georgia 6. It's happening everywhere. It's not just happening with you in your seat where you are in your lane doing what you're supposed to be doing. It is happening everywhere. And it is going to be, I believe with all my heart, the most glorious point in the history of the United States that we've seen in the past 150 years, what's getting ready to happen in these elections. And I'm so honored to be a part of it. I would love for you to get behind me and give me your vote.
Paulette? Sure. Do you believe in a smaller federal government with states' rights as per the U.S. Constitution? How do you shrink the Goliath-sized government we now have?
Yes, I do believe in smaller government. I believe, first and foremost, we need to start at the IRS. How many know that the IRS is legal right now? It was a bureaucracy. It was not to continue on. Come on, raise your hand. They don't see you, they see me. It was a bureaucracy, and it was only supposed was only for infrastructure. And then what's happening even in Cobb County, they know we're not going to vote for the slot. So what they did was they said, oh, we're going to charge you on 2% more tax to build infrastructure. So yes, we need to get rid of that. We can even start right there with the school board. We can start with the Senate, even the Congress. I think it's too large. I think we as the people, we need to start letting our voice be heard to change things because you have the power. And again, I say, please, go and pull up on YouTube Constitution Alive, or come to Cobb County and listen to some of our classes that we have on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Because it's you, the people, who have the voice, not the politicians. And we are not going to tolerate it anymore. It's your voice that needs to be heard in Washington, D.C.
Blake, you're up. This will probably be the last question for the evening. How will you protect our rights and freedoms?
I hear a lot of people come out and say they are ready to fight. They say that they're bold. They say that they're unafraid. They say that they're mad and they're ready to take a stand. They ask, do you have a backbone? Can you stand up? I can't literally stand up, but my backbone is literally reinforced with titanium. So how do I fight? I fight the same way that I do every single day. I fight the same way that I did when I lost my ability to walk. I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I lost my ability to walk, back in 2007, my stepfather was over in Afghanistan fighting to kill Osama bin Laden. And through all of that, a bunch of soldiers that he worked with flew a flag over Bagram Airfield at half-mast in my honor. I didn't know anything about it. They sent that flag home. They sent the words of encouragement. And that reminded me then and there, I've been fighting all my life. Damn it, you can get up. If those men that are facing the war, that are facing the true perils, then you can get up. So how do I fight? I get people out of Afghanistan. I got 6 of them out. I got my grandma out of Ukraine last week. I helped over 50 companies get the PPP and EIDL funding, saving several thousand jobs. I fought back against the cancel culture because I went out and I found those people and I hired them and I offered them jobs commensurate with their salary. So how do I fight? That's how I fight. I win.
The first time I got involved in politics was when my grandmother took me door to door. I was probably about that big. I went on to be involved in college Republicans, young Republicans, volunteering for the party, anytime there was a need, knocking on doors for great candidates, conservative candidates. I've been fighting since I was 6 years old. There was a couple years in between, maybe about 12. But I've been fighting for your liberties by fighting for this party. Now, as we just kind of talked about the last 2 questions, the best way to fight for you in Congress is to make the federal government as small as it possibly can be, and return all of the power back to the states. Because that's the way that you protect liberty, is making sure that the people who are supposed to have it, and that the federal government is as small and out of your lives as humanly possible. So, yes, I have been fighting, and I will take that fight to Washington.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. How will you protect our rights and freedoms?
Oh, wow, that was short. Okay, I thought there was more to it than that. All right, so I haven't been involved in politics very long. November, I think, is when I got involved in this race. But the first time I really started fighting for this country was after September 11th. I was a college student, and we were attacked. You know that everybody in this room, unless they're a kid, knows where they were when that happened. And for me, that was that crystallizing moment where I became an adult. I got real pissed off, and I decided I needed to go and help kill Taliban one week in a month because I enlisted the National Guard. But that didn't mean much then, and I was pretty quickly in Afghanistan, 1st Brigade, 10th Mountain Division down in Kandahar. That's when I started fighting. It was when I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we have plenty of domestic enemies. All right, we suss them out, we know who they are. And most of the time, hopefully never, it's not going to be a physical battle, it's going to be focus. It's going to be rhetoric. It's going to be getting the job done that way. All right? But I'm a fighter because I fight. I'm a warrior because I've been in war. I'm a soldier because I'm a soldier. We throw those words around in these contexts. They're words with definitions, and I have fulfilled it. I will continue to fight for you through this next oath to the Constitution.
America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I don't think that those two phrases are a coincidence. I think they are directly related and interchangeable. Freedom is not free. If you look over the course of human history, countries continue to get larger. Churches in Europe, medieval times, got bigger and bigger, larger doctrines. That's what's currently happening in the United States of America. Right now, the liberals are growing our federal government. They're trying to delegitimize the American system and form of government. They're trying to replace religion with wokeism. And so what we have to have, in many respects, is the same thing that we had whenever we created this great country, which is a great reset. We left our ancestors over in Europe, crossed the Atlantic to create a new country. In America, we now have to have that. We have to have strong, unafraid conservatives that are going to yank this country back to the right and away from the liberal abyss. I have built a career in fighting for the Constitution, my convictions, and what I believe in. I went against liberal cities, fought for religious liberties. Or liberal cities fought for religious liberties. I fought for election integrity. We have got to have those type of fighters that are going to deliver. They're going to have the vision. They're going to have the energy. They're going to have the newness. They're going to have the vigor to get this country back on track. Give the 6th District of Georgia a voice that they can be proud of, a voice that is going to reverberate not just within this district, within this state, but within this country. To invigorate the American people, the pioneering spirit of this country, and the fight to put America back on the map of being the greatest country this planet's ever seen.
We as Americans, every day we are losing our freedom. This progressive liberal and socialist, communist continue to undermine that us try to take away from our freedom. But yet, we as Americans, we as a Republican, we as continue to let them go their way. We are not Republican, we conservative, we are not strong enough to stand up to fight with them. That is enough is enough. But yet, our Congress, all this rhino, continuously cut a deal with a liberal, a Democrat, and backside of the door. We will not let it happen. When I get elected, that will not going to happen. You might see me once a week, at least once a week, the Fox News, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Because I am going to fight, I am going to raise an hell, because I do believe the old saying, when you're dealing with a crazy dog, you got to be crazier to beat that dog. The Republicans, we must change our attitude. We can no longer, we're going to be nice. Oh, we're going to be nice. Oh, yes. Let's give it away. Let's give it a little bit. Let's
Suzi, how would you protect our rights and freedoms?
I was brought up to see this country as a matter of stewardship. My father and his father, and on down the line, have fought for this country one way or another, whether it was in the United States Senate, whether it was writing the Declaration of Independence, whether it was getting off but writing the Mayflower Compact first. I am dedicated to the principles that have been passed down. I am dedicated. Meagan, I got you beat a little bit. My dad used to haul me around in a red wagon when I was 2. So this was an early thing. This is a matter of stewardship. We have the best Constitution, and I'm not doing this for all of you, but I told my youngest daughter, I said, you can go anywhere you want to college, but Mommy and Daddy's money's going to Hillsdale. I'm sorry. You're going to wind up learning exactly what this school has in store for you. Our Constitution is a precious document. We must not lose it, we must not abuse it, but we must abide by it. It is time we follow what is in there. It is time that people stand up and realize this is it. I remember when I was a young schoolgirl during the Vietnam War, and I keep asking if anybody got my cookies, and nobody has said they got my cookies that I used to bake, but we were proud of our soldiers that were there. We were grateful that they were doing what they were doing. I have been proud of everyone, and I grew up in a military family. It is time, though, that we take this fight to the streets. And by that I mean we talk one on one and remind people how great this country is, who we really are as a people. Are we strong enough to say that? Absolutely. I will remind you to my dying breath who we are as a people.
Thank you, Suzi.
I want to fight. Thomas Paine brilliantly said, if there is to be trouble, let it be in my day, so that my children might know peace. I've always said the best thing about me is being a mom. And I could never have imagined how God was going to use that quality that at first glance seems pretty basic. But much like Thomas Paine, it is my passion as a parent. It is being a mom that is the how I'm going to fight. And most of you in the room can probably relate because you're probably parents. So I'm going to fight for our freedoms like a mom does, like a dad does, like you would if somebody came to get your kid. It is primal. It comes out of your DNA. It doesn't need fancy language. It doesn't need to be incentivized. It actually looks at things that would pull it off course and attract it and bribe it like it's going to happen in DC. I get that question all the time. How are you going to stand up to all the things, the power and the influence that they're going to entice you with? And I said, let me tell you, there is no 1 to my kid's life number 2 of things I'm interested in. There is nothing more attractive to me than my children's freedom. So I don't care what they dangle. Not interested. James, Reagan, John. That's how I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight just like you would if you were sitting up here running for this seat.
Thank you, Mallory. Paulette, how would you protect our rights and freedoms?
First and foremost, we need to understand this, that our military, they have bullets with your name on it. That's why they don't really have to go and fight wars anymore. So, I'm a woman of the word. I've been a Sunday school teacher for over 18 years, learned about it from Genesis to Revelation. And one thing I know is that God is real. Read the book of Jeremiah and Esther and see how that sits on high, and he knows everything that's going on. And he'll laugh at your calamities when you think that you got something done over him. So what we need to do, we need to understand that we have Democrats out there. They're our brothers and sisters. And they are wondering, how can we get to the Republican Party? Go knock on your neighbor's door that just moved in your subdivision. And you all start coming together and speaking and talking. And also make sure you go to YouTube and look at the Constitution alive together so you can know the power that you have from within and what you can also utilize that's already been print by the forefathers. And we need to understand that. You can't fist fight. You understand? I used to do karate. I could beat up 5 women at the same time. One man, I utilize him. But guess what? It's not time for that. We got to unite in love. And I love you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paulette. Ladies and gentlemen, just 1 second here. Rich, go ahead.
I get to fight too.
Sorry about that.
If you want to talk about fighting for people's rights, it starts with enforcing the Constitution. It should scare you right now that from the boy pulpit, from the president's own speaker, they talk about collaborating with the media and the news on how to limit people's free speech. Who to censor? We've already lost our First Amendment right, and nobody's saying anything about it on the news. Nobody's actually fighting to go out there and being courageous and making a statement that that's not okay. All those liberals that talked about free society have lost their own cause. Since I was a young man, I joined the military. I've always run towards the fight. I volunteered to go on the Marine Expeditionary Units where other people got to go to Okinawa and get extra pay. I didn't care about the pay. I wanted to be at the fight. I spent time in the Persian Gulf, off the coast of Somalia and Rwanda. I volunteered to go to Afghanistan rather than go to a cush job because I want to be there when there's a fight. It's in my nature. It's what got me involved in politics, going down to the Capitol and fighting for something to actually get done when it came to surprise billing and being mad with my own party because they were selling out on special interests against us, the people. When it comes for fighting against mask mandates and vaccination mandates, I'm a doctor. I'm 100% pro-life, by the way, but I believe you can make a better decision than any government on what's best for your health. That's a fight we're fighting to the point where even if they come after my medical license, I believe in you more than I believe in them. I believe in the sanctity of our relationships. I believe in the sanctity of our church and our communities. I believe that the more we empower those powers in the United States down to the ultimate minority, which is the individual, the better off it will be.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, real briefly before I'm going to ask you to do something that I said you're not allowed to do, in 24 hours on a YouTube channel called CC Horse Country, you'll be able to see 4 different segments. We do it in 30-minute segments. I doubt anybody's going to sit 2 hours straight. So that'll be up there. Easy compare and contrast. Now would you give a hand to the 9 candidates, please? Chairs and arranging them? Sure. Okay. Young lady here, we could use some help. Literally 2 people put this room together. We're a little tired.